This is the North Shore Community Association's podcast, July 9th, 2021. Hello again. This is Max Cote, the NSCA Development Agent.
Hi, this is Evelyn Audie, the NSCA's Executive Assistant.
This is the 8th episode of the 3rd season of the NSCA podcast. Today we will have a career interview with Jennyfer Bezeau, a nutritionist from Sept-Iles. After the interview, we will present the community news and events. This is another interview of a community member on the NSCA podcast. The objective of these interviews is to showcase community involvement, services to the English-speaking community, and their professions or careers. Jennyfer Bezeau is a resident of Sept-Iles and is a nutritionist. Hello, Jennyfer. Nice of you to come and speak to us today.
Hi, Max. Nice to meet you.
First, can you state your full name, where you're from, where you live, and what is your career or job title?
My name is Jennyfer Bezeau. I live in Sept-Iles, and I am a dietitian nutritionist.
I'd like to hear how you chose this career and where you went to school to become a nutritionist, starting with your high school, college, university, and any other post-secondary studies you may have gone through.
So it took me a little while to choose my career. So I always had that interest for food, nutrition, and cooking since a young age. And then, I graduated from the CELA, so le Centre Éducatif L'Abri in Port-Cartier. Not sure about what I wanted to do, so I went to the Cégep de Sept-Iles, where I started with accountancy, which wasn't really for me. I have to say, I quit after only a few weeks. So what I did there was just a few basic courses for 2 years. So just wondering what I wanted to do. I did have being nutritionist in the back of my mind. So what I did, I actually met a counselor at the Cégep de Sept-Iles. He made me met the nutritionist in Port-Cartier. And she showed me how is a day like for her at her job. So it was very interesting. So it showed me, wow, that's actually what I wanted to do. So let's go and I will go forward, right? Because I was fast science, I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't go over there. So my counselor said, well, why not trying the technique de diététique in Chicoutimi? So I went to the Cégep de Chicoutimi and I did the technique there. So it was great to choose this path for me because it's really hands-on. It's not just about being sitting at school and listening in classes. You do a bit of that, of course, but you also do the practical part of it. So that was really nice. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't enough for me. I wanted to be more than that. I still wanted to be a dietitian. So for me, it was step one. So right after my technique de diététique, I moved in New Brunswick. So I went far away from my family and I moved to Moncton. And I started a 5 years bachelor's degree to be a nutritionist. So that was my last step. And then,
Can you explain to me what the career of a nutritionist entails?
I think it entails more than we think. Being a nutritionist is not only about making meal plans and saying to people, oh, you should eat that and don't eat this. It's way much more. It's more about being able to create a relationship with a person you don't know, actually. And then it's a lot of counseling and advocating for your profession, for your patient, and for your, yeah, for what you like.
What type of clientele do you work with, and are there multiple fields a nutritionist can work in?
Well, there are multiple fields. To start, the patient I work with, well, there are so many people. I work with people with eating disorders, which is my passion. I work with people who has any type of disease, diabetes, heart disease, anything, young, older. Really, there is no specific clientele. I can work with anyone. And for the type for the field of a nutritionist, I can work. Well, you can work with community. So this is my favorite place to work because most of the time you can do a lot there, and it's free services, and people really enjoy it. You can work you can create your own private practice if you want. In that way, well, you can be your own boss, and you decide what is your schedule like. You can work in hospitals, so it's a bit more clinical. So if you like when you have more evidence-based facts, well, it can be very challenging, it can be very interesting as well. And I think I can also say you can work with First Nation. And I want to say it because it's community as well, but I think it's different. And we should talk about it. It's very interesting field also. And the last one I can think about is public health. Yeah.
Can you describe to me what the CJEPR College experience was like for you on the North Shore, and how did that go for you?
Well, so my college experience started in Sept-Iles. I do live in Sept-Iles right now, but in the past, well, I was living in a small village an hour away from here. So I couldn't just take the bus. So I actually had to move out of my home when I was only turning 17, which is actually still very young, right? So at 17, I had to make my laundry, start to cook for myself, all this new stuff to do. And that was something to learn. And then when I went to Chicoutimi, well, it was another game because not only I had this full stuff to deal with every day, well, I was far from my family, and sometimes it was hard, but it was also very how can I say it? It's kind of a new freedom. Not saying that I wasn't free with my family, but you learn new stuff. I was learning life experience by myself because my family wasn't there to help me if I needed. But of course, if I needed support, I could help. I could, and they would be always there. But it was more interesting from a life experience point of view. And when I moved to Moncton, well, it was something else again because I was moving further, right? And I loved it because I was a bit, I was used to deal with the stuff you have to, the laundry, the cooking. So I was used to it. So now, and I was a bit more grown up, so more serious at school. I was able to find a balance between my social life and school. So I think that was the best part of it. So yeah.
Explain to me what a typical day in Jennyfer's work routine looks like.
So a typical day, I have two kind of typical days. So I'm going to say first and second. So when I work let's say, in a more clinical setup. A day for me is I have to get prepared to see my patient. So I have to look at the scale, and then after I meet the patient, it's about an hour, we talk, and I try my best to do a good intervention with that person. And then after, well, it's the part we don't really like, but it's still part of the job. It's writing the notes. And start over with the next patient over and over. So this is the more clinical job, which is still very interesting and challenging depending on the type of patient you will meet, right? And my other type of job is that when I work with the community, how it is, well, there's actually no routine. That's what I like. I can meet the patient at his or her place. We can meet in a coffee place. I can be on the phone. And for this job, I meet only people who struggle with food relationship or eating disorders. So it's really my passion. And on top of that, I can work on projects when we have events coming. I can also help with the recruitment. I can do so many things. So this is how a day can be in life.
How important is bilingualism in your work?
So at the moment, I have to say I don't have so many clients or patients speaking English. So is it important? In fact, not really, which is I find sad because I love to speak English. I went to New Brunswick to learn English. So I couldn't speak before. So to me, English is important because I want to be able to help the person in front of me, no matter if that person speaks English or French. And if I could add one more language, I think I would. So yes, English is important, and I hope that the population will hear that and then know that they can get English service.
What would you have as advice to the young listeners if they express interest in this field of work?
I have a few advice. I think the first thing I would say is don't be afraid. It can be a lot of challenges and many years of studies, a lot of work. But at the end, it's totally worth it. I don't regret anything. The other thing I would say is persevere. It is so important. If you have a dream, a goal, go forward, go for it. And don't let the challenges stop you. You will grow from those challenges. It's actually interesting. I loved it. And then seize any opportunities you can get, seize them, because sometimes it's just once in a lifetime and then can bring you good things.
I'd like to thank you, Ms. Jennyfer Bezeau, for your participation to this podcast. I'd like to extend my gratitude and the gratitude of the young listeners for participating to this interview.
Thanks for inviting me, Mars.
Now for some information on current community events and services.
The Carrefour Jeunesse du Plessis has a community garden activity this summer in Sept-Iles. If you are 18 to 35 years old and would like to volunteer some time in the garden and get credit for it on your resume, then this activity is for you. A financial compensation is also offered for your time. Call the Carrefour for more information at 418-961-2533 and press extension 0.
Sept-Iles Up La Ville activities are in full swing. Come participate in their physical activities during the summer. The activities are planned for the 23rd and the 30th of July and the 6th and 13th of August in the local parks.